News of the World, directed by Paul Greengrass, based on a novel written by Paulette Giles, stars Tom Hanks in his first ever Western. The movie has already had a limited release and is coming to Netflix on the 10th of February. Story takes place in a few years after Civil War in America. Tom Hanks plays Captain Kidd, a veteran of that war who now travels the southern states for a living. He rides from town to town with newspapers and, for a small fee, reads the news to the gathered townsfolk, who often don't have easy access to the papers, and even if they did, they don't necessarily know how to read. A lot of them are illiterate. One day, Captain Kidd comes across a ruined cart, what looks like the aftermath of a robbery in the brush, with the only man inside hung on a tree. But there is a survivor of the attack, a small girl who seems to be very feral and wild. She looks clearly European, blonde hair, blue eyes, but she's dressed in Indian clothes and only speaks the language of the natives. She has papers with her, which reveal that she was kidnapped as a small child with her parents killed. She was raised by Indians and now was supposed to be delivered back to a southern Texas town where her extended family live. Captain Kidd initially takes the girl to the nearest town, kind of reluctantly, delivers her to the authorities, but when they refuse to take care of her, take responsibility, he takes it upon himself to deliver the child to the destination. And the journey will also bring him close to San Antonio, where we know he has some family business that is clearly unfinished and weighs on him. So, in some ways, it's a classic Western, a journey filled with various encounters, evil bandits, helpful people, and the looming and mysterious threat of the natives, and one of the central characters protecting and escorting another. On the other hand, it does have this feeling of being slightly older and tired through Hank's character that goes, both physically because of the age, but also because of his baggage from the war. He's not the typical guns blazing protagonist of a Western. He doesn't look for action or gold or adventure. He seems to be mostly tired with his life, and he just wants to do his job at this point and be a decent man while doing that. There's also the interesting dynamic between the main characters. Captain Kidd is a reader and a storyteller, while the girl doesn't speak English initially, so they have to really learn from one another to establish any relationship whatsoever. And surprisingly, it's not a one-sided relationship because the girl also has some things to teach Kidd as well. Little nuggets of life philosophy taught to her by the natives that are foreign to the civilized man, let's say. I think this dynamic between the characters does work quite well. There are also undertones of this atmosphere of a country in a post-war moment with a lot of people feeling disenfranchised and abandoned and seeking to place blame all over just to make themselves feel slightly better. Kidd is relatively resigned to his fate and he has to navigate that often hostile environment. Now, my take on the film is this. There's not really anything specific to hate about it. No glaring issues, maybe outside of the parts of the plot feeling very streamlined and simplified. But on the other hand, there's also not a lot to be very excited about. The film didn't particularly move me in any way. I didn't hate it, but I also didn't enjoy it to the point of, going to recommend it left and right. It's an okay movie. It looks good, has two good performances at its core, and tries to smuggle some interesting social commentary with its main plot. But it's not gripping or very emotionally engaging. Maybe it was just me, but even so, it is a fine film. It's just fine, which may just be reason enough to watch it, since there aren't that many new releases that would necessarily be better at this point.